Voodoo8ball.
Yes! This is my friend Steve Downey, and
The Queen Wave.
I have been trying to get Steve to do Voodoo8ball for a few times now, and everybody's got stuff going on, and we won't even get into that. But I'm just glad that you're over here.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. So
looking forward to this.
Well,
not a lot, but I've been, looking forward. Really, when I get past it is what I mean by that.
Yeah, when you're leaving the house,
like passing a truck.
You're like, oh my God, that was the worst decision I've ever made.
Evidence. Scary. Now you have digital evidence.
Yeah, it's on video. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your history as a musician, and I've got some questions I wanted to ask you. For one, were you born and raised in Wichita?
I was. Wesley Hospital, 1952.
Yeah.
Just turned 67.
That's awesome.
God, I would have taken better care of myself,
I was born in Wesley too.
Really?
Yeah. 2001.
It's not a bad place. Not a bad place to visit. I wouldn't want to stay there.
Right. So you were born and raised in Wichita.
Right. And
you have been in the music community for a long time. When did you first start?
66 years, actually.
Okay.
That's 67.
Well, so you were
technically not really, but
well, I don't know, because my son Harrison, who, by the way, you gave Harrison his first guitar.
Don't look at me like that.
Well, you did, and it's awesome, and I appreciated
I love that kid.
Yeah, I appreciated that, and he strums the heck out of it, and he'll figure it out.
Did you ever find out who his dad is?
Yeah. Well, I whittled it down to the guy that works at the liquor store 3 blocks away.
I didn't want to break that to you.
But I appreciate that. I mean, it was just such a big surprise to me, and it meant so much to me that it did melt my heart. It really, really did.
He's an amazing boy.
And well, he's got a good mom.
Yeah.
And apparently some guy that works third shift at a liquor store. But so you've been in the music business for a long time here.
Well, it's a funny thing. So we were talking about this, a friend of mine the other day, about who our influences were. And, of course, the Beatles affected the world. Affected. They had big influence, let's put it that way.
Correct.
On the world. But I have to be honest, before what kind of got me hooked was I had 2 sisters and a brother, and my sisters started getting into Elvis Presley.
Yeah.
And they had the LPs and a little monophonic record player, and they bought me a little cowboy guitar. They had the cowboy on the front, but a cardboard guitar. And they'd hang it around me, and I would lip sync to Elvis in the front room and do all the hip swivels. And I had to be really little, and they would applaud, and I thought, hey, this is kind of cool, this attention.
Right.
So that got me kind of hooked. The next step kind of from that was around the Beatle time, but my brother was in the service, and he brought home a Buddy Holly's greatest hits.
Very cool.
And I loved everything about that album. I wore it out to the point where back in those days, you'd wear the needle out or wear the record out. You had to rubber band a penny to the tune arm
to get the weight,
to keep it skipping. It was that bad. See that white stuff on top of the record, you've worn the record out. Anyway, I love Buddy Holly, and evidently the Beatles did too, so it's amazing because he was a singer-songwriter, he had a unique voice, he had a Fender Stratocaster, he looked oddly cool and confident, So I loved all those Buddy Holly songs, and I loved the Everly Brothers.
Very cool.
Which I think were another big influence on the Beatles. You can see so much of the Everly Brothers in the Beatles. Their cool hair, cool guitars, the harmonies were a little different.
Yep.
So I kind of got into that stage of music. Plus, one other odd thing for me, my older sister loved Broadway show tunes.
Okay.
So she had all the collection of records from
like Oklahoma and all that kind of
South
stuff.
Pacific.
Yeah.
And all those. And she had a lot of collection of 45s. And she kind of turned me on to that music too. And I'm glad she did because it was broad, it was orchestral, it was different tonalities, and there are certain things about it I really appreciated that got ingrained in my psyche as I grew older to how to listen. And besides rock and roll, so it kind of spread the palette of the kind of music I enjoy, and a little bit of classical music. Still, one of her albums was Rhapsody in Blue,
Mm-hmm.
and I loved that album. And I thought, man, I could just hear everything in that album, that recording of that. So it was wonderful. But when the Beatles hit, it was all over. Me and the rest of the world,
Yeah.
And they just opened the door to everything. Everybody wanted to be a Beatle. I bought my first 45 I Want to Hold Your Hand at Atlantic Mills and bought a $2 Beatle wig and waited in front of the black and white TV in my mom's front room and, was hooked. My brother had a harmony guitar that I kind of stole from him and started playing it, and just started there and moved down to Pike for buying guitars and being in bands, and of course, like everybody else in the world, neighborhood garage bands. And so I'm really blessed.
Right.
I'm lucky because I'm so thankful to the Beatles in my era, my time, in that age, because they affected the rest of my life.
Right.
To be able to perform and make money playing and do something I love. And it's funny how it's ended up the last couple of years, how many people I've met in the music business or because of the music business. And literally, without going into too much detail, I think at a real pivotal point a couple of years ago, that saved my life.
I think so.
So you were at that little shebang they threw for me.
Yeah.
And,
right.
And it was amazing. It's sort of like It's a Wonderful Life. Suddenly it was spelled out for me.
And that was not a little shebang. It was a huge shindig. So I take Harrison, and I'm thinking, well, I'm just going to park over here someplace. And we're coming down Douglas towards Margaritas, and I can't find a place to park to save my life. I mean, nowhere. Down the blocks, around the neighborhood. And so I called in a chopper, and I had Harrison airdropped in, and then I came in. So, but no, it was crazy. I mean, there were so many people there. I couldn't even maneuver around. Could not find this man anywhere. And I finally found him upstairs, and he was kind enough to take Harrison and I downstairs and introduce us to people. And that was another cool deal. But it just shows the appreciation that people have for you, the love for everything that you've done. It was crazy.
I was thinking about this, seeing you guys at that thing, and I was going to tell you, not to be unappreciative, but it's sort of like Paul is dead. I think there's a lot of people who wouldn't have come if they didn't think I was on the verge of dying. And they would go, hey, you were faking it. You were faking it. Paul is dead. No, he's not. I think so. Fighting what was at that time I thought going to be a pretty terminal thing, and to survive it, and I think the love of the people, and renewed faith, and something to look forward to, and that was a pivotal moment for me. And it made me cling to life, as corny as that sounds, and fight a little harder. And this is a banner year for me. It's one of the best years I've ever had in my whole life. And I was thinking, if this is the reason, if God says, I'm going to give you one more really good year, so just take advantage of it, and don't get too far ahead, and just stay in the now. And that's what I'm trying to do. So playing more than I have in years.
I've seen that, and now I'm guilty because I have not been able to make it to one of your recent shows.
You haven't missed anything. It's just been fooling some of the people some of the time. Don't look behind the curtain, Aaron.
That's right. It's the guy from Oz. It's okay. Some of your bands, starting from the earliest ones that you remember, forming, whether they were garage bands or not.
How much time do we have?
Well, okay. Give me a rough estimate. How many groups?
Probably, realistically,
from the time you were one.
I'm thinking, if you really want to call them real groups, realistically, maybe 15.
15?
So I'll go real quick. Earliest bands were The Herd. I was in The New Destination. I was in, Axis, a band called Axis. That's 3, right?
Right.
I was in the Border Regions. That's 4. I was in Legion. That's 5. I've been in the Crawdads. That's 6. I've had my own band, Partners in Crime. That's 7. Let's see, who am I forgetting? Oh, I was in Lotus for a while. That's 8.
Right.
Let's see, who else am I forgetting here? I know there's a few more. Anyway, probably.
Well, no, it's fine. I'm just trying to get a rough estimate.
Now, when I started, they didn't even have electricity. We had to yell out. And we took the guitars and we put this horn in front of them.
And there was no
we
cell
rode
phones.
the king on a dinosaur.
There was no cell phones.
It was crazy. It was crazy.
Kerosene lamps. People held up kerosene lamps.
You know, it's like 2001 where the monkeys with the bone up the earth.
Right.
Guitar.
I love it.
It was primitive. It was primitive.
Oh, man. So roughly 15 groups.
I would say.
And then...
Oh, Hard Road was another one. If I go home, I'll think of all these.
Right. Well, then you can call me, but I can't add it to this. I mean, it's
Well, then just shut it off. What's the point?
So, I want to know, the reason I asked you that was to follow up with this. Any really crazy memories from any of those groups that stick out into your mind, and it doesn't have to be good or bad. It could be just a certain memory. Like, you went to play a gig and something really screwed up happened and you were like, oh my God, I never thought that was going to happen.
Baby, you don't want to know.
We don't have enough time.
Well, there's been some memorable moments. One time at the casino club when I was with Legion, the electricity went off. So we had a candle. And you remember, and you used to tell me to hold the flashlight on.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Well, not being as really sharp, I thought, okay, I'll be funny, and I'll hold the candle under my face like it's spooky, but I had a beard. And everybody in the band was laughing their rear end off, and my beard was on fire. And it was like a sticky, crumbly kind of. That was pretty mortifying to do in front of a crowd, you know.
Yeah, and you smell that kind of stuff for a while.
Yeah. Speaking of smell.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I've been in two bands with guys who perfected the art of flasherless. And they could clear a stage and half the audience in a swoop. So, one guy in particular, who's departed now, not from that, but we were almost departed from that. Anyway, he let one loose on stage one night, and it was like a blue film filled the air. And we all looked at each other, and one by one, I swear to you, we put down the instruments and walked off the stage, left him there by himself. He knew what he had done, you know. And it was a bad one. It was a chains were attached to it. You know. So I had, you know, in my long career, I've had some intoxicated moments that I recall that vaguely that weren't good, and I've had some sober moments that weren't good. Trying to think, I played for a wet T-shirt contest a long time ago, and the gal was an older waitress at this honky-tonk bar, and she got in the contest, and, you know, and a little too old, and when she lifted her top, she had eyes painted around the ends of her boobs. So she had like watching Four Eyes there, this old lady. She was kind of fat. She gave me one of those. So from then on, I called her Winky.
Oh, no.
She was old Winky.
Oh, that's great.
So there's a lot of memorable, you know. I've been shot at and missed, and crap that hit. And I was at a bar one time when an actual gunfight broke out. And I was sitting with a friend and two girls, and we all ended up underneath the table till they kind of went away.
Was that here in Wichita?
Yes.
Wow.
And I had to get up and play a set after that, so I thought of every gun. You know, shoot 'em up, baby, bang, bang. I shot her down. You know, I shot the sheriff. I did a whole set on gun control, you know, of gun songs.
Oh, that's great. Well, because I know you've got a lot of stories, and we don't have nearly enough time. But
am I stretching this out too much?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
No. But hold on one second. I do have something for you. Let's see here. Oh. When you You take your clothes off. Sit on that. Don't get my couch dirty.
You want this to go or something? Are you going to stencil this later?
Just kidding. It was a lame joke, and it's gone. Okay. So I was trying to think of something else here because I've lost my track now. That's what happens with two people that are creative geniuses.
Yes.
Mind if I show some records real quick? And you could.
I would love that. Voodoo8ball.
Yes! All right. Now, these are just some recent finds. Some of them you're probably not going to like. Some of them you might know.
I don't like that already. I haven't seen what it is. Poison, yeah.
Poison. Open up and say, ah. This is the one that has Love on the Rocks. Every rose has its thorn, which tends to get just beaten to the ground on radio. But
I remember going to see this Poison one time, and I told him, I said, if you get near a song, play it.
See, this is what I like. You hold no punches. Now, Rush.
Yeah.
Moving pictures.
Yeah. Rush. Geddy Lee. He went to Sweden and didn't know which sex to be when he came back. So he has that voice, but Geddy Lee.
You know, that is true. I know you're joking about that, but when I was
I'm serious about that.
Well, when I was a kid growing up, I always thought Rush had a female lead singer.
I thought he was in pain.
Yeah. Well, it could be too.
Geddy Lee.
Now, these are all just albums that I've gotten kind of recently.
No, so far you're impressing me.
Well, there's not a lot. The Lightning Fingers of Roy Clark.
Wow. Yeah. You know, Roy Clark used to play in Wichita a lot.
Did he?
Yeah. At the Hi-Ho Club and different places. The Western Swinger.
So, of course, when I was a kid, Hee Haw was what introduced me to Roy Clark.
Right.
And I always knew that he was kind of fast and quick-witted, but I had forgotten exactly how fast until I got this album. And I have several Roy Clark albums, but this one, I mean, he opens up like a tornado. It's just crazy. And his skills are, I mean, it's amazing. And
he and Glenn Campbell both are amazing guitar players.
Yeah, yeah. So is that better? Is that a little bit better than Poison?
Well,
you know I'm all over the place.
You're eclectic.
I am eclectic. That means weird. You're not going to like this one. Samantha Fox.
Now you're talking.
I want to have some fun.
I have several of her movies.
Samantha Fox. I want to have some fun. So this came out in 88, I believe. Yeah, 88. So in the 80s, in the mid-80s, there were two girls that I had pictures of in my locker. One was Samantha Fox.
You were into girls?
Well,
that's not the word on the street.
That's not the word on the street, as the kids say. And Lita Ford was the other one.
Yeah.
Now, Lita Ford was, gosh dang it, she was in the Runaways.
Right.
And
you do know Samantha Fox was kind of a porn star.
Oh, well, I know now.
Yeah.
That's what Google's for.
That's why I say I have her movies.
I did not know that. Now.
Of course, I have a t-shirt that says, I made Linda Lovelace gag.
You do not. Do you really? I wouldn't put it past you. Private Parts.
Great album. Great album.
And personally, I know on it, not personally necessarily, but Dwayne Bailey.
Sure. And John Collison.
Yeah. And so
who's the drummer on that album?
You're gonna make me open it. Well, it doesn't say. But this came out in 1986, and Dwayne went on and did some stuff with Chicago
and Bob Seger.
Yeah, Bob Seger. And you and I were talking one night, or messaging back and forth one night, because I had Dwayne in a message thread, and you were like, "Tell Dwayne I said hi." So I said, "Steve Downey says hi," and Dwayne goes, "Tell Steve I said hi." So there you go. But yeah, stories about private parts or members of the group that you know?
Yes, I believe it or not, Odd Little Things. John Collison's the keyboard player in that band, and I've known him since literally was a kid. I sold him his first electric piano when I worked at Yearly's at Fender Rhodes. His mom and dad brought him down, and he kind of moved up the scale. He was just a kid, and of course I heard Dwayne playing at different clubs in town. I think he's maybe from Lawrence originally. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think Lawrence is right.
And he played with some other guys that I knew, Winston Blair and some of those guys, and just phenomenal. Had that great voice and guitar playing. My claim to fame for Dwayne, and he probably remembers this, but is back in those days there was videotapes called Starlicks of different famous guitar players. Well, Steve Lukather was a guitar player for Toto. And there was a Starlicks video of Steve Lukather explaining his rig and his licks and different settings he had. And Dwayne came over to my house, and we watched a little of that video, and he was enthralled with it. And Dwayne was an amazing player then. I said, well, Dwayne, take the video home with you, and when you're done with it, get back to me. I've never gotten the video back, number one.
Damn it, Dwayne!
And the second thing is, I don't know what took with Dwayne, but after that, he became phenomenal on the guitar. Phenomenal. I don't know if he just copied the Steve Lukather thing, but it's I never got the video back, and he took off, got famous, and I'm still in Wichita. So I'm a little ticked about that deal.
Not only are you still in Wichita, you're in my basement on my couch.
Right. So Dwayne's a cool guy. I really would like to get in touch with him. He's kind of slipped under the radar, but he's in town, I'm told. But
oh, really?
I haven't talked to him for a long time, but Dwayne's been very kind to me and said some nice things, and I appreciate him, and I appreciate his talent. And that's a great album.
So there you go. Surprise you with that. See, I'm not all just smoke and mirrors. I'm not the man behind the curtain.
Let us be the judge of that, Aaron.
George Burns sings. Now, I kind of set you up for that.
This is because I'm old?
No, this is because it's a running gag that Eric and I did in practically every show, because he bought a George Burns Live at Nashville album thinking that it was a George Burns comedy album. And it was George Burns singing. And so he brought that over years ago on one of our earlier audio episodes and said, this thing's a piece of crap. And I said, well, if you want to see a piece of crap, let me show you George Burns sings. So, what's that cover look like?
Sort of like Sgt. Pepper's, maybe.
Exactly.
A little bit.
Exactly.
Here's the thing, George Burns lived to be old, and he smoked cigars.
Right.
And have you ever noticed how many old guys smoke cigars? And they are old. And I used to love to smoke cigars.
Right.
So I thought, hey, it's good for George Burns. Groucho smoked cigars. The thing about George Burns, I've discovered, he smoked cheap cigars. Like White Owls or something. Not even real cigars. They're crap cigars. So I lost all respect for him.
Okay. But no, this was kind of just like a little joke, right?
Yeah.
And it is. It's horrible. But they say, the producer on the back here, the first time I heard George Burns sing, he doesn't really sing. He talks.
What's the guy for Star Trek that made an album?
Oh, Leonard Nimoy made some.
Yeah, like that. Those guys.
Yeah.
They took voice lessons from the same coach.
Yeah. It was. Just because you're a celebrity, Richard Chamberlain was another one that did some.
Wow.
And it's like, just because you're a celebrity doesn't mean you need to make a record.
That's true. Let that be a lesson to you if you're out there listening.
Yeah. Now, I'm throwing this in because I haven't had a chance to do it. As you can tell, I'm a Who fan. I kind of like Who stuff.
Right.
Okay. So, in December, so it's a little bit a ways.
Wow, that's cool.
In December, I got a message from my friend Adam that owns Spectrum Music here in Wichita. And him and Jason had gotten, and Les, had somebody brought this Who mirror. And Adam sent me a message. He goes, I've got a Christmas present for you. And he knew I was kind of going through a difficult time. And I'd been in there kind of, you go into somebody's place that you know, and an establishment that you frequent, and some people go to a bowling alley or a bar or whatever. And my place is the record store. I go in there and I got people that I know that are in there, bend an ear, vent a little bit, and he goes, "I got this present for you. Just swing by the shop." And I said, "Well, you didn't have to do that." And so I go in there, not knowing what the heck it was. And it was the Who mirrored sign, probably from a carnival, from a Midway, someplace. But it meant the world to me. Anytime somebody, thinks of you and knows that you're going through a difficult time or anything, and then throws you something like this, it's like, wow.
Right.
How cool. And it could be a pin, or he gave me a Who pin one time. I go, you don't have to do that. But it meant a lot to me, and I've never showed it on an episode of Voodoo8ball. So thank you guys at Spectrum Music for this.
That's cool.
I appreciate it greatly.
That's a very cool thing.
So, now that I got you over here in the basement and you're not nude.
Don't get your hopes up. I know I promised that, but not on the first date, Aaron. Not on the first date.
For what? We met.
Hasn't even offered me water or coffee. Zero. Now
I was
he wants
going
me to take my clothes off.
No,
What is wrong with you?
I've got iced tea. Would you like some iced tea?
This place smells funnier than Wayne Gacy's crawl space. Does that tell you anything? Wow. Man.
I just appreciate you coming.
I like the pickaxe in your hallway, too.
Oh, that's great.
Nice touch.
And my clown mask.
I didn't know. I will say, I love all your albums. You have a great record collection. Have you shown those on?
Yeah, and that's only a part of it. If I would have had everything that I would have gotten rid of years ago, that thing would.
I have boxes and boxes,
So,
melting in a storage unit.
I've got a bunch of stuff. But like you said, I'm eclectic. I have everything from Harry Belafonte to Ella Fitzgerald, Ray Charles, all the way up to I don't go much past, and this people will talk crap on me. I don't go much past into the 2000s because I kind of start getting lost a little bit. It kind of gets to the point where it's like, oh, it's that point for me where country music is more hip hop and rock and roll now than country. Now, not for everybody. There's some really great artists that are still out there doing stuff that are in their genre, and they stay true to it, and they don't try to mix everything up into a hodgepodge just to appease a population. But that's how I feel like some of that's gotten. You look at some of these artists that are YouTube sensations, and they're making more money and getting more views than people that are out there hitting the road, 6 days a week. And that's part of the technology, but I think it's also part of just the instant. Everybody wants to be an instant star.
It's funny you should bring that up because, technology has made all the difference. Like I was talking about how primitive things were when I started out. Equipment from you could do more in a basement now than they had at Abbey Road when Sgt. Pepper was recorded on a 4-track. It's unlimited tracks. Everything's in a small footprint. Equipment's become a million miles. Everything's changed. For live performances now, you can do everything mix of an iPad.
Right.
You take your iPad and you mix the band from. Things like that's phenomenal. When I was thinking about fortune and fame and overnight sensations because of the internet and stuff, that's true. And I just feel like I came along too late in that game. And frankly, Aaron, when I think of all the people I've had to sleep with to get where I am today, if I had known I could have just gone on YouTube or something and avoided all that and several diseases, I would have. Not to mention the child support, which has gotten up there through the years. That's why I'm broke and still in Wichita, because frankly, they didn't have YouTube when I did it the rough way.
Well, we met on an online dating service.
back when you just had to, do the wrong thing to get the right thing, or the right thing to get the wrong thing, as they say.
I don't know. I'm torn between it because I see artists that use it and like it still sounds like it's legitimately like they're invested in it and they're taking the time. Just because it's on a computer, it doesn't make it any faster for them because they want to go back in. And Prince was doing stuff like that later in his career.
That's how you use it.
Yeah, right. And then there's
Which brings me back to who I've had to sleep with earlier in the day. Not just flatlined my whole career.
Oh, damn it.
Did I tell you that, speaking of being ill and this little shindig and stuff, a few years ago I had a colonoscopy. Did I tell you? And so
I know.
I was nervous, and so I had to go to the doctor, and my first time, and most guys put it off, which I did. And I finally went, and I was joking with my wife, and I said, I got home, I said, he didn't write, he didn't call, he didn't send flowers. And so my wife goes out and gets a bouquet of flowers and puts them on the front porch with a note from the doctor, how much he enjoyed our visit and looking forward to seeing me again soon, So my wife has a good sense of humor about that.
She does.
Of course, she didn't have to take the colonoscopy, but I did the grunt work on that one. I took one for the team on that one. Wow.
I think you're both great.
Thank you.
And not only for the things that you've done for Harrison, but this guy grows a garden every stinking year. And not that kind of garden. And brings us green tomatoes. And Lori fries up the biggest vats of fried green tomatoes you've ever seen. And so this year, I want, if you do decide to do that, I want you and Dee to come over and
eat the tomatoes
and eat all the hard work that you've put in to give to
Enough
us.
with the tomatoes already. What? The tomatoes.
I did plant 2 tomato plants this year.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah, then Harrison did them with a baseball bat.
Part of maturing. Part of maturing is growing your own damn food, Aaron.
I state it.
God. I get out there and slave and green tomatoes.
Hey, did you have... Harrison and I did a video clip for you. Did you ever see it?
Well, how long ago?
Well, from your shindig, around that time.
Oh, I think so.
When we were sitting down on the couch.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, because you never said anything, and I felt like, well...
How did you send it to me?
I didn't send it to you.
You put it on Facebook?
No, it was a surprise. It was sent to Dee. So maybe I opened up my mouth too soon. Dee, I apologize, but it's been like 2 years.
Well, I have a video thing.
There should have been like a compilation where a bunch of people were sending you like messages.
Ah. How did you send it to her?
Through Facebook.
Well,
Well, maybe you were too busy with the garden. I don't know.
Have you ever met my wife?
Not personally, because I missed her at Margaritas.
She, well, you'd understand why the chain has slowed down from you to me. Let me filter it through my wife.
No, and now I feel bad because I was just assuming that after 2 years that you probably would have seen.
Wow.
Maybe you have. You just forgot. Maybe it was so good it just blew your.
I'll ask her about it. This could be grounds for divorce. Thank you.
Well, that's good. Gee, wow. I probably just ruined your next big surprise.
Wow.
But you know what's a surprise to me? Your friendship. Because I appreciate it. I joke about, I met him on an online dating service years ago, but actually we just met through Facebook. And we have similar sense of humor, like I said. And he's just a great guy. And he's been nothing but nice to my family and myself, and I appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, my friend.
Pleasure's been all mine. You do have a wacky sense of humor, and it's been fun watching you grow up.
I like you. Me grow up or my son grow up?
I remember when you were in knee pants. Wait a minute, you are in knee pants.
I am in knee pants.
Yeah, watching you get through high school and for the 3rd time, actually. Helping you with your homework, things like that. I don't know what you would have done without me. You know,
Oh my gosh.
driving you back and forth to school.
Steve.
Fixing you a sack lunch. By the way, did you ever eat that banana?
No, I never did.
Or smoke it? What did you do with that?
I did. Just
My God.
smoking the banana peel. Thanks, Steve.
My pleasure. This has been fun.
And this is the awkward part where I have to get up and like walk
You know,
around and
it's
shut
funny you
off
mention
the...
my wife, because that's what I just said here after sex the other day. This is the awkward part where I had to get up.
Okay,
You
look.
know, my wife, wait a minute. My wife said the other day, she was looking for,
Steve Downey, like I said, I mean, you're just great.
so send money.
Send money.
Paul is
now.
not dead. Okay.
I didn't bring. I've got a huge paper check in the back. I'm gonna go get.
Wait a minute, I gotta tell you, seriously, I need money because I have to have an operation. I have to go in and have the bill collectors removed from my back.
I know.
All right.
Tell me
That's
about it. I appreciate it.
Voodoo8ball!
Yes! All right, see, this is the part where I awkwardly have to get up. See, and I have to go, is that thing still on? It's still on. There you are. Oh, man, did you know your underwear was showing that whole time?